Hello, welcome back to the James Ram Reviews for yet another episode. In today's episode, I'm actually going to be reviewing for you another Indian movie. This time it's called Tourist Family. One of the more recent, Indian Tamil language movies. Ended up going to see it last night at the cinema, and so I'll give you a bit of context obviously. If you didn't know, right, I actually watched the trailer for this movie, and it was like on Friday night, and it was like, okay, I'm like a minute into this trailer. This is already entertaining me, this already looks interesting, so I didn't even finish the trailer, and then just booked the movie and saw it last night, and that's really how interested I was going to get to this movie, because of the concept interested me and things of that nature. So there's definitely all of that. You've got about a 2 hour plus movie on your hands here. On the Cineworld app, it did say it opened like on May 1st, and it's like 2 hours and 6 minutes long, but I'm pretty sure it actually just opened in May in India, and then it came out a bit later, in the UK and things like that, and it's 2.5 hours, because by the time movie started it was like 10 to 7, intermission at like 7:52, ended at like 8 o'clock, and then the movie actually ended at 10 past 9. So yeah, you're talking about 2.5 hours here, so there's all of that. So what is this movie actually about? And so what you've got here is you've got a family. They actually reside from Sri Lanka, but then they go on this boat to this town in India, I think it's called like Chennai, and so they're trying to prove themselves to their landlord. There's like drama with the cops, and there's all of this stuff, but we won't be getting into too much spoilers because it just came out recently. And so the first thing I'm going to say about this movie is that I actually had a really good time with this movie. If you're going to talk about an Indian movie, you got to talk about like that theatrical experience that you bring to the table with this one, because it's a comedy movie. It was really effective with the laughter and the crowd and everything, and I enjoyed that. But what also is really good about this movie is that it actually is kind of a unique Indian film, I'll be honest. Like, there's ways where they don't really go for that really bombastic, over the top sense of style, sense of passion. They just tell you this light-hearted, pretty much, mostly straightforward story about this family in Sri Lanka. So I do appreciate that. And as well as that, there is points where there was like this one point with a dance number. I won't spoil what it is, but when the dance number eventually comes, it just becomes a little gimmick in the movie, like a little silly thing, like, oh, there's these Indians in this town, they like to sing and dance. Like, that's how they treat the singing and dancing. It's not this big, spectacle or anything. So that was really interesting about the movie. The movie also just flew by for me. I had an entertaining time with it. I think the actors were really good in this. Like, you've got the little kid, or you've got the neighbours. They're all finding their little ways to have fun, have a bit of laughter. I do appreciate that, and the fact that the movie has actually got Sri Lankan Tamil in the film kind of surprised me, and you'll understand what I'm talking about when when you go see the movie, you watch it in your house. They do touch on the fact that there's like these different dialects in India, and that was kind of cool how they used these characters. They talked a certain way, they used a certain dialect. So for example, one of the dialects of like do they talk really fast, or one's like and it showcased to you that anybody in India can just talk a certain way, can vibe together, have a fun time together. So that's what I do appreciate about it. The themes were pretty fun and things, and a lot of it was really good. So the thing I didn't really appreciate, or really just didn't really get invested in with the movie, is probably the villain aspect of the movie, because there's just these cops in this town. They try to figure out this thing going on with a dog, and I'm not going to spoil what all that means, but it just doesn't really add to the flavour of that family, where they've got like different personalities, and they've got a certain way to speak and a certain way to move about. So that whole thing wasn't really great. But what I do really like about this movie is that it appreciates, it understands what it's going for, and then by the end of the film, right, you do get this sense of closure, a sense of like a full package scenario where the movie is at an end, it's ending. They understand that everything that happened at the start of the movie has to have a payoff, has to have a final resolution. So everything, my point is that everything comes to a head, everything, comes to a standstill, and everything starts to make sense. So all of that makes the movie pretty enjoyable, to know that they actually cared about this movie, they cared about making the film, and I really did appreciate what it was going for. The comedy was outstanding, everything was pretty decent. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is a film of the year or anything, because I say that a lot because there is quite a few movies I really do enjoy. I'll probably give this movie about a 7 out of 10. Really recommendable, really entertaining, watch, a really good way to pass your time at the cinema, definitely. I definitely enjoyed the film. So yeah, that's my review of Tourist Family. This is, just to kind of just went into this one and just enjoyed this movie. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this review. Stay tuned for more like this one. And this movie just convinced me that, well, I'm going to probably just keep enjoying these types of movies, because there's just certain ways they find these new or these kind of different or familiar ways to kind of intrigue you into a plot and the culture of India. So yeah, that's it. That's my review of Tourist Family, the 2025 Tamil / Sri Lankan Tamil, I guess you'd call it, movie of this year. So yeah, see you next time for another review on James Ralman Reviews. Peace out. Bye. Have a lovely Sunday if you're in the UK, because it's an afternoon. Bye.